All right, 6 o'clock, we'll stand for the pledge. All right, James, do you mind doing attendance?
Yes.
Yes, you mind, or yes, you're gonna do it?
No, yes, I'll do attendance and not trip up to the day. Can everybody hear me okay? President Dr. Reese.
Present.
Vice President Quintana.
Here.
Secretary Summers here. Treasurer Hanser.
Present.
And Trustee Schultz.
Here.
Trustee Schaefer.
Here.
Trustee Whitney.
Here.
All present.
Great. Item number 2 on the board agenda is changes to the board agenda, and I have none. Item 3 is scheduled public comment only. We had one, and I see she is walking in right now, so put you on the hot spot. You have the timer. Right now?
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
If you want to drink water first,
I know I'm timed, so I'm not walking up.
No, that's okay, you got it organized.
You can sit and get ready, and then you can just look at me and I'll hit the button when you're ready.
Okay, yeah.
That way, I know you're just walking in, so.
Yeah, so take a breath.
We did it.
Take a pull out. Look. Oh, shit. Okay, turn your mic on. Oh, it is on. Oh. So I want to discuss the superintendent position because I know we're coming to a head on that. And I know that it was originally scheduled for the 24th for a final vote, but this is something that I want to read. Some of you know I'm a mental health therapist. So this was in one of the books that I was reading. Some trauma experts have begun to further simplify the definition of trauma, framing it as the experience of broken connection. From an attachment perspective, this makes sense since broken connection with an attachment figure could mean death to the infant or young child, or being so disconnected from our attachment figures it can be in and of itself traumatic. But the trauma of broken connection also occurs through a massive disconnection that someone has with their self and another when enacting interpersonal harm. Attachment is related to this since having a history of secure attachment acts as a protective buffer against trauma. Research shows that in the aftermath of trauma, people who are well connected with others are more likely to recover faster and less likely to experience post-traumatic stress disorder. Conversely, people with disorganized attachment, that doesn't apply here. But the point there is that having the connection, right, helps cut down with PTSD. Our kids need the connection. There's also parts where it talks about everyone getting re-traumatized and how that adds to CPTSD and just re-emphasizes the earlier trauma, right? That's why, Tanya is really the great choice, and I just want to reiterate that. I know I've sent emails, because she addresses the trauma. She acknowledges the trauma and has the steps, and I think she has the best thought with concept within the community on how to heal so we can move past that so our students and their siblings don't develop PTSD.
Thanks, Kara. Sorry about catching you right as you walked in.
All right.
All right. So moving on to item number 4, and the main reason why we called this special meeting today is an update on the superintendent search and selection. So the way we're going to kind of walk through this, as we announced in our special meeting, was that we were going to do site visits for all the candidates. At the time, we had 3. Mr. Raleigh had then withdrawn from the selection materials, so there were 2 site visits that occurred, one on April 5th and one on April 12th, so Friday to Friday. What we have done is broken out 2 reports, which we'll post to board portal after. We just want the candidates to see them ahead of time if they were in there looking around. So Heather is going to start us off. We had April 5th site visit with Mr. Cormac Lynn, or Dr. Cormac Lynn, because he did get his dissertation in. So what I will say is, first I want to thank both the Saginaw Diocese and Columbus Public Schools for being so accommodating on such an incredibly short notice for this team to go. So I will hand it over to Heather, and then after that, Amanda will read about Tanya. Then we will go into a board discussion, just so everybody understands the format, and after the board discussion ends, then we'll move to a motion if we're ready to vote. All right, any questions? All right, Heather?
Okay. On April 5th, 2024, we conducted a site visit for Dr. Cormac Lynn. The team was composed of the following board members: Aaron, Amanda, Colleen, Mike, and Heather. In addition to BOE members, we had Anita Conja-Collins, Ryan Reed, Daisha Beasley, and Jim Gibbons. The site visit was a vital component of the interview process. We were able to gain real-life knowledge into the day-to-day roles that he plays within his district. The structure of his district is organized more like a territory, which includes 12 schools K through 12. Each school functions independently from the others. Each has a building or a principal or building administrator, as well as other cabinet-type supports. Each one also may have a pastor and/or board to report to, in which Cormac is the direct superintendent. The diocese has a central office team that coordinates the business processes for each of his 12 schools. We met with many valuable people who allowed us insight into his work experience, communication style, climate and culture, and work ethic. Here are the following areas we met with: his chief of staff, principals, marketing and enrollment, curriculum, chief financial officer, teachers, office support staff, parents, board members, and community partners. Throughout the day, our questions were centered on his role within their engagement and his leadership. In addition, we discussed his knowledge of strategic processes, budgets, grant writing, climate, and culture, and his overall ability to move into the public school system. We also discussed in great detail his leadership qualities and ability to direct multiple buildings that each craft their own strategic processes, budgets, safety and security, staff, and programs. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Cormac for his warm welcome. He was able to orchestrate this visit within a couple of days and organize numerous valuable participants. This was not an easy task, as it was also spring break for most of his districts. There were several participants that either came in person or via Zoom during their vacations to speak on his behalf. So thank you again. After receiving everyone's notes from the fellow team members, there were many common themes that emerged. I am going to read off a list, both descriptive words and words that were used frequently, and common thoughts surrounding Cormac's abilities. Intentional, objective, data-driven, analytical, servant leader, patient. His leadership translates. Often asked coworkers, "What do you need from me?" Proactive, responsive, highly collaborative, highly visible, brings people together, bridge builder, prioritizes policies and ensures adherence, values student, staff, and community feedback, strong moral compass, evaluates all sides of an issue, listens to understand, values transparency and accountability, proactive with communication. Numerous groups commented on his ability to wear many hats and navigate between the multiple schools and their staff, students, and goals. See parents as partners. Supportive of staff and students. Goes beyond to ensure staff feel heard and respected. Uses innovative means to engage stakeholders. Commitment to safety. Effectively allocates limited resources. Even as a teacher did not want to know about her new roster of students, He said to reject the preconceived notions that everybody starts with a clean slate. High academic goals, addresses issues head on. All attendees from every group, parents, staff, board members, etc., were consistent on the values of Cormac. Different groups did not have different opinions, and common themes were throughout. Steady, calm, grounded, doesn't get rattled, ability to de-escalate, resourceful and strategic, extremely dedicated, trustworthy, consistent, very professional, direct, invested, visionary, hands-on, approachable, team player, extremely dedicated, researcher, visible, approachable, thoughtful, calm, able to engage in a wide variety of stakeholders, steady, communicator, willing to help, a breath of fresh air, honest, realistic, aware of the influence and impact, objective, fair, consistent, a fixer, present and visible, always assumes good intent, always available, encourages professional development, hosts listening session, gathers thoughts quickly, quick on his feet, equitable in all situations, fantastic with parents, willing to play devil's advocate, good at reading people, connects with students, takes communication seriously, proactive, looks for feedback, education is his vocation, and not afraid to take on the tough issues.
Thank you, Heather. I'd like to start by saying how invaluable this component of the process has been. Meeting with the stakeholders and the candidates district was incredibly insightful. The meetings provided a more nuanced view of each candidate's strengths, challenges, and potential fit for the new role. They also validated and in some cases challenged impressions formed during the interview process. The feedback that we received has helped inform a more thorough evaluation of each candidate's qualifications and readiness for the superintendent position in Oxford. On April 12th, the team visited Dr. Tanya Milligan's district in Columbus, Ohio. The team was comprised of 6 board members, along with Ryan Reed, Daisha Beasley, Anita Concha-Collins, and Jim Gibbons. Tanya arranged the schedule for the day, which consisted of meetings with district principals first. Next, we met some coworkers who work in the same building as Tanya, including her executive assistant, receptionist, head of safety, and head custodian. The afternoon was filled with meeting community members, parents, and students. After zooming in for a kindergarten lesson, we ended the day speaking to various directors, some who report to Tanya and some whom she reports to. We asked questions to elicit conversation with each group. I have to thank Daisha particularly for engaging the high school students to open up. Thank you, Daisha. The questions that were asked started with asking them to describe Tanya's leadership style, strengths that they perceived, and what qualities she would bring to leadership in Oxford. Typically, we would follow up with questions about communication style, any challenges they would expect her to face moving into this role, and lastly, we'd ask participants to leave us with 1 or 2 words they thought best described Tanya. There were occasions that warranted specific questions based on response. And I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank Tanya for her incredible work in hosting all of us and note that she was very accommodating and welcoming. It is definitely not lost on us, the tremendous planning involved, so we appreciate her hospitality. And after reviewing the notes from all team members, there were many common themes that emerged. I will list these now, both the descriptive words used frequently and common thoughts around Tanya's abilities. Data-driven, keeps kids at the forefront, positively focused, authentic, supportive, hands-on, collaborative, systematic, direct, calm, passionate, invested, leads by example, motivated, electric. Her boss said she knows what questions to ask and who to ask, and then works on what to do. Inclusive, brings a great toolbox of best practices. Confident, loving, courageous, compassionate. Down to earth, purposeful, intentional. Engager, transparent, organized. Uses direct communication, transparent in her thinking and her goals. Identifies solutions and makes them happen. Makes decisions based on what is best for kids. What you see is what you get. Identifies strengths and skill sets of those around her and places them in appropriate roles. She has an ability and desire to grow staff, quick to admit mistakes. A theme that emerged was how Tanya is able to hold the tension. Many coworkers referred to her as balanced. She's tough yet fun. There is accountability for work, but she's also supportive. She expects order and cohesion, yet is also compassionate. She said a few times that she walks with courage, or I walk in my values and purpose. A strength for Tanya is that she has served in multiple capacities. She talks the talk and walks the walk. She is a lead learner, maintains perspective on what it's like to be at the building level. She's had a positive impact on culture and climate. Purposeful, steady, reflective, inclusive, triangulates data, pulls the through line, meaning she does not miss engaging the people and that any decision may affect. Looks to the future and is innovative. Nothing is too small or too big. Thoughtful, smart, collaborative, leads by example. She cares about people. Kids are the focus. She is present, handles large budgets that include federal and state dollars, has an ability to connect with people, cares deeply about students and safety. She is able to differentiate needs. Authentic, caring, loving, visionary, knows curriculum and stays up to date on best practices locally and nationally. Driven, memorable, strong, great with follow-up. Communication. Handles conflict with grace, not afraid to make difficult decisions. Clear, efficient communication, will own mistakes. Patient, meets challenges head-on, invested in people. Thoughtful and reflective. Transformational leader. Genuine, dynamic, relationship builder, leads with character, manages the change process, created a paradigm shift in thinking about mathematics. Proactive, in tune with all stakeholders, willing to ask others for input. Reasonable, wise. She implemented University of Washington Leadership Walk protocol in buildings to observe instruction, climate, and culture and other areas from their strategic plan. The model allows a safe platform to deliver feedback. Recognizing glows and grows. Works with community partners to expose students to things they wouldn't otherwise have access to. In response to recognizing challenges in her community, she changed the building bell schedule to allow her students to be socially and emotionally well. Out of the box thinking. Use cultural assessments with staff to individualize PD for them. Inclusive. A student said if you have an idea, she will find a way. Fair. Thinks about the other side and finds a middle ground. Maintains a positive relationship even with hard decisions. Finds a way for the benefit of teachers and kids. Puts in the work. Implements with fidelity. Courageous. Humility. Compassion. Accountability. Servant leader. Change agent. Community builder. Keen innate ability to serve in the executive role. She's seen best practices in hundreds of schools. Adaptable. As a high school principal, she shared her high school budget with the middle school to support students. Inspirational leader. Positively focused, always available, leads with character, takes suggestions, always professional, not afraid to let people do their job. Always watching, always learning, and knows the right questions to ask.
All right. So first, I want to start by thanking my fellow board members and the administrative staff in our community. This process has been educational, it's been exciting, it's been informative, and I think it's been inclusive and transparent. I'm happy to see that we're able to work as a board. Selecting a superintendent is one of the most important decisions we'll make as a group for our students, for our families, and for our communities. And it's not lost on me that we all come from different value systems, but the one thing we have continued to hold the line on is that this critical selection and how our superintendent needs to not only possess qualifications of an educational leader, but someone who can demonstrate empathy while promoting academic achievement, someone who can role model resilience and accountability, and someone who understands our community's most precious asset, and that's our children. As I look at and just listened here and reflected for a lot this weekend, I know we all did, I think it's important to note that the two candidates we do have, I think, are very excellent educators. That was evident in both sessions. There was not one that was so incredibly shining star that we left one without feeling a little bit of confliction as we all reflected. with that being said, as I go through and I listen to the words and I think back, I will start off the discussion and other people can jump in. But I do think Dr. Milligan, everything that I heard in every session talked about how every decision is made in ties to how we do it for the kids. And that was consistent theme throughout. So whether it was the parents that we met with and talked about the bunny that we heard about in the interviews and how she implemented a wellness room in her high school, and the parents of the students who benefited from that came and talked about it, or her communications style through Mulligan's Monday memo is what they called it. It was so memorable, but parents could talk about it. I don't know if I could talk about it as a parent on a regular basis. Some of the communication, like there wasn't a moniker to it that was catchy. I do think one of the things that they talked about in budgets too that I think was incredibly important is that she sits on a committee, and that was another thing that came through in everything. Everything is done in collaboration with individuals who are either directly affected by the decision or will be part of the decision-making body, whether or not, and there was a few people said she would pull us into meetings which we would have never been invited to, which maybe in a district like Oxford may not seem like such a big stretch because we're smaller, but in Columbus City Schools, that is a huge feat because it is quite a corporate infrastructure. So for someone at the lower level to be pulled up into a meeting with individuals who maybe are 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 ranks above them in terms of hierarchy, I think was pretty powerful. It helps people grow. But when she talked about the budgets and we asked about our pending budget deficit, the one thing that I appreciated was her comment on triangulating data. One of the things that they're facing is potentially closing a school building, and they have some that they need to select from, and she's part of a strategic work group where her department specifically was able to put together a rubric for subjective data to support the decision making. So there's always a lot of objective data that we're given on a continuous basis, whether it's student achievement, attendance rates, maybe other factors like enrollment in the area. But what she was measuring was culture and climate of buildings to make sure that they weren't going to be closing a school that had a huge impact on their community in that decision, and a way to measure that and triangulate data so she's not missing the mark on something and she's not letting others around her miss that mark. So with that, I will close out my comments and allow everybody else to talk because I could probably go on a little bit more, and I do appreciate both site visits, but for the time here, I wanted to really articulate what stood out to me so incredibly much more than one or the other. So I'll open it up to whoever'd like to go next. James?
No, go ahead, man.
I would like to echo that we have 2 really incredible candidates. I think that throughout the process, at least me personally, I changed my top candidate multiple times throughout. It has not been the same since day one, and every step that we took through this process has just gleaned more information and made the decision harder, but in a good way. We really do have 2 very good choices, and I know I spoke to a staff member who's been through multiple of these that said this was probably the toughest, and I believe it. So I think that both would do a really good job moving the district forward. I think that both paths ultimately help Oxford. I just think they look different. I think that one looks a bit different than the other, and while I do admire so many things of Tanya, and actually I see a lot of Vicky in her, I think that she is going to be an excellent addition to any district. When I sat down with everything, with the student surveys, the staff, the parent, everything that we have, the leadership profile, everything that we've done along the way, and looked at what I thought would be the best moving forward, Cormac's qualities stood out to me. He is very intentional. He is very objective. He is so thorough in every single thing that he does. He looks at things from many angles that, we sometimes have a we sometimes miss. And I think that he will bridge that gap, especially in communication. I like his communication style, and I think that it would greatly benefit the district. So like Aaron said, I could probably go on for a long time because we have talked about all of this in extensive detail throughout the process, and there is just so many great things to say about both, but my recommendation would be Dr. Cormac Lynn.
So, unfortunately, due to work conflicts, I wasn't able to go to Cormac's visit. But following up with people and stuff, it sounded like it was a great visit for everybody that was there. Listening to the different stories that were told and stuff, and the emotional connections that people made with him and such in there, which is great. So I kind of went into the Dr. Milligan's visit excited, but anxious, not knowing and stuff. But I'd like to thank everybody that came and asked thoughtful questions and stuff, especially the people around, her leadership style and something that stood out with me on her side, and I can only speak to that visit because that's where I was at. That multiple times over and over I heard that she meets me where I'm at, regardless of socioeconomical status, where I'm at, whether it's, the one thing that was funny is like, the kids were saying that she was trying to greet kids that spoke a second language, or English was a second language, and even though they understood that she didn't speak Spanish, it was nice that she was making the attempt and stuff. Was nice. And developing leaders, right? There's people that were there that were talking to us, that were talking about how they were once colleagues, and then she became their boss, and she helped develop them, and now, the dynamics have changed, and through the whole thing, there's been mutual respect. Even during conflict, there was mutual respect, and bringing it together. The one story that really sticks out was the one student that was having a rough time around graduation, and wasn't able to make it, and she put together a process, and this actually came from the parent that told us they put together a mini graduation commencement and went to where the student was at, and gave them that opportunity just to meet them at their level. And I don't know, that speaks more than just an educator, more than a leader. That's the empathetic and side, and to me, I mean, that's here in our community, everybody's at a different level and stuff, and being able to recognize that and stuff. So again, I didn't go to Cormac stuff, so I can't speak of that, but that was a couple things from the visit down in Ohio that stood out to me.
So, I want to echo a bit of what Amanda said. This was probably the toughest decision, probably professionally I've ever made. Two really qualified, good human beings, good educators, good people, good leaders. The fact that we got down to two is really, we're really, should say something about our community and the type of people that want to represent our community. It made me feel proud to be part of Oxford, to know that these people, to me, the top echelon in the educational industry, wanted to come here and work here and hosted us so warmly, both of them. And I'm a soft skill person, so that had a lot of weight with me, and how they made us so welcome and provided us with such great people to talk to, insightful people to talk to, professional people, students, just a very vast amount of information for us to think over. At the end of the day, it's weird that the board picks the superintendent, because we don't work for the school, and we're not going to work with this person every day. So it's a weird position to be in. So at the end of the day, what's important is that we as a board, and me as a board, for my pick, my vote, is that I pick somebody that's going to work best within the school district. And our staff, our students, our cabinet, who will work with them on an hour-to-hour basis. So that's kind of where my thoughts are on how I came to my development, because I was really torn up until today, really. I just kept thinking about it. This was not something that any of us took lightly at all. Did a lot of thoughtful discernment. And, but I think at the end of the day, I think that Tanya is the most qualified candidate as far as educational qualifications go, as far as curriculum, strategic processes, educational strengths, if you will, administrative strengths. So those are my thoughts.
I mean, without repeating completely, I mean, this was, I remember leaving Cormax and saying, I hope like next week is really great, so we have a really hard decision to make, and it didn't disappoint, right? And I do appreciate the cabinet and members, again, that we had in there. I really value your opinions and your input, right? Because to your point, Heather, I mean, we kind of oversee, but you're the ones that need to work with them, and I do value that. And I've tried to dig kind of deep in the community as well. I've gotten a lot of shareholder input. I've called a lot of different people, and I feel like the last 2 weeks, that's all I've been talking about when I see people out in the public. So it's a lot, and it's a difficult decision. For me, as far as my notes, I guess what stood out for the candidates. I mean, for Cormac, he's very direct. He's efficient with his words. I mean, we saw it here as well as at his district. He takes a moment to digest what the question is, and then he's quite efficient. And I think that goes a long way with communication. I think sometimes the more you say, the more I guess sometimes the softer it comes across, I'm trying to be efficient with my words. And, but I liked how he carried himself, and how he had a vision. He seemed to meet every one of our asks. He kind of knocked him out of the park. He was very thorough. But I mean, there are challenges. I've heard from definitely stakeholders where, being from a private school, there's concerns. I see that. I see both of those. From a management standpoint, I can see that he doesn't conduct himself as the smartest in the room. We heard similar things from Milligan as well. I mean, collaborating with the group, bringing in all stakeholders, and certainly being able to make a decision when a decision's necessary, but trying to get as many people involved in those decisions as possible. And then with Tanya, the wrong way. With Tanya, certainly very. I mean, you saw her 30, 60 day, 90-day plan. Very focused on the caring and kind of that teacher. She keeps going back, and I understand. I mean, she was a principal for longer than anything else right now, and so she went back to her school experience quite often, and her engagement with the students. And we saw that through some of those students had her as a principal, right? That were in there in that meeting. So I saw that side of that personal nature that I do really appreciate. And so where the decision is kind of, as Amanda said, two very good candidates that just, I think, as far as their vision and how they will take the district the next step are going to be two different paths, not divergent paths, but just different paths. So I've been really going back and forth and trying to see who, in my mind, with all of these and the so the objective, right? We have so much objective data, but then also some of that subjective, kind of that nuanced data, and really where I stand from a leadership position, I would support Cormac for leadership for this.
You want to go first? No? Okay, so, like all of you, I've received emails, text messages, phone calls from staff, parents, community, this entire process, which is such a wonderful thing. Clearly, our community really cares about education, and that's heartwarming. Each of the candidates brings a wealth of leadership and invaluable skills to our table. Both were described as team players, excellent communicators, and it was said that they were adept at handling conflict and remain steadfast in the face of adversities. With such strong contenders, it's clear that whichever candidate we select, our district will be in good hands. For Cormac, some of the things that stood out were that he was approachable, invested, he was professional, he always kept his eyes on kids, or his eye on kids. He was proactive and extremely dedicated. For Tanya, one of the things that stood out is that, I think she said it to us actually, that collectively we will find a solution. So I think that to me, that meant she valued what a board would be to her. She was a collaborator, that was said over and over. She knows the right questions to ask, which at the end of the day is really important. And she has a large toolbox of best practices. So thinking about this decision, reflecting on this decision, also the chaos of the day for Tanya was telling to me. You know, that whole day had to flip, and she never brought it up. I think she may have been a little rattled when we first got there, but she never said anything. She handled herself with grace, and she never brought up what happened or why it happened. She just went forward, and on we went with our day. So all this, the bottom line is I also have to take into account, like you mentioned, Heather, the people that are going to work with her day to day, and our cabinet and all the people that have, reached out to me. So because of their support and because of a lot of the thinking I've been doing, I would like to support Tanya Milligan.
Thank you, everybody who went on the visits, as this time I was unable to attend either of them. So thank you. But I appreciate I appreciate getting all the feedback, and I think we have two amazing candidates also, and because I think maybe because I wasn't at the visits, I didn't get the personal interaction, so I'm coming back to a little more objective, though there's some subjective in here. But what I was focusing on when everybody was talking right here about the summary is that there were a number of times on Dr. Milligan's report where it was brought out that she was putting kids first, best for kids, kids at the forefront, and that's what it's all about for me, is how does this, that's the question, how does this help our students? How does this help our kids, one way or the other? I also heard about educational leader, and I think that's really important to have a leader at the helm. It's been a few years since we've had somebody here and steady that is here to help mentor cabinet members, and staff. And I think that's important too. Excuse me. And her I think Dr. Milligan's public school experience is invaluable. There's already going to be a learning curve, and I think it's really important that she already understands and works well within the public school system and all the parameters that are around us and all the things that we need to be sure that we do. She's also worked, her district now has over 100 schools, the place that she's in. So I think that also adds to the variety of people as well as staff that she has worked with, as well as the students, and working with our special populations, and working with, we've got the LOFT program here, and working with Bridges. She has a lot of a wide variety of experiences. I don't know that she has those specific ones, but working with those different types of classrooms and different types of schools within our district, you know, within the public school system, again, and all the statutes that surround that. My choice is going to be Dr. Milligan for superintendent.
Is there anybody else that would like to make any final comments, or? All right,
Just real quick.
sure.
I know it had been brought up that, you know, about a divided board and other, I want to say that I think that this is a really good thing that we didn't all agree that we have such diversity of thought on the board and that we all have strong values. And so I just wanted to commend that, I think it is a very positive situation, and it just shows that we all really, really were invested. So that's all I want to add.
And to that comment, Amanda, I think it took us all a long time from listening to everybody to come to our decisions, that we really gave it a lot of thought and didn't just say, oh no, that's not for me because of this. But we really, looked at everything, and it took us a while, and lots of discernment and lots of quiet, and yeah, and it's been a great process.
Great. Well, who would like to make the motion? James?
Move to appoint Dr. Tanya Milligan as the next superintendent of Oxford Community Schools pending the successful contract negotiations.
Support. Heather? Any further discussions?
Yes. A couple things that I definitely wanted to point out, that as I was trying to gather my thoughts here and stuff. While she's been in her current role for 2 years or going on 3 years now and stuff like that, she's worked her way up through education and being a principal and stuff. And something that stood out as I was listening to everybody, she talked about the high schools there being an island, right? And you have to be able to pivot and make decisions there without necessarily the support or, you know, having somebody to back you or somebody to call a friend and such. Our superintendent is going to have to do that as well, right? A lot of the stuff stops right there. Reaching out to people, as Mike has done and talked about, you know, it's really important to know that the people that they're going to be directly working with is looking towards her as you know, somebody that they can work with, not only from a boss and under subordinate, but as somebody that can coach, mentor, and continue to help them grow professionally. I think that was something that I was really impressed with, and I know in the private sector, you're always looking for your mentors and mentees to help everybody out, and she definitely does that. The other thing that stood out that I found out later is their district, while significantly larger than us, have separate buildings that are just for 504 and IEPs, around 9,000 kids with IEPs and stuff, so significantly larger from the special education section. I think that's important to bring somebody in with that experience as well, because as we recover not only from COVID, but from our tragedy and other things in day-to-day lives, we're finding more people are qualifying for services and stuff. And having somebody that has that experience from a larger district and being able to pull the different things together for that, I think is super important, and to be able to lend the stuff. I can't speak enough on what she brings to us from that larger experience, and yeah, we're smaller, and I had a very direct conversation with her, and I said, but why us? Like, why Oxford? I don't understand. I'm hearing all these people saying how wonderful you are and how great you are and how you're going to be missed and stuff. And she talked about her process, and she really never even thought about applying, but just something nagged internally, like she's driven and drawn towards it. And she put it away for a little bit, and then it came back again, and she kind of went through the process stuff, as well as her presentation that she did. I mean, she totally customized it, came up with that logo, and to my knowledge, she's the only one of the candidates that has fully read the guidepost report from cover to cover. And while that gives a glimpse through that report of what we've been through, where we're coming from and stuff like that, somebody's not going to totally know until they're in that seat. But I have full confidence with her experience coming from a very socioeconomical status of Columbus. I mean, just driving through there, there's great spots and not so great spots and tragedies and traumas and stuff like that, that she can bring that here and really take us and lead us and help us grow together as a community and reunify us. So I just wanted to make sure that was put out there for that.
Any other comments, discussion? All right, Secretary Summers, roll call.
Yes, Summers, yes. Hanser,
Yes.
McDonough,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Dr. Reese.
Yes. We have a second motion on the table to enter contract negotiations. Would someone? Heather?
Move to enter into contract negotiations with Dr. Tanya Milligan as the next superintendent of Oxford Community Schools.
Can I get a support? James? Any discussion on that? So just a brief note from me. What will happen is I will call her after the meeting, and then we will call our attorneys to start the negotiation process with her directly, and then we will bring back a contract to the board that is available to the public for full review and execution prior to her start date. All right. Any other comments? Since I sometimes miss people, sorry. All right, roll call vote.
Yep, Summers, yes. Hanser,
Yes.
McDonough,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Reese.
Yes. All right. Well, Dr. Tanya Milligan will be the next superintendent, hopefully, if the contracts go great. All right, last item on the agenda is unscheduled public comment. Kelly's bringing me the cards. And thank you again to everybody who helped participate throughout this process. It's been a good one. All right. Mark Gillum. Just a reminder, the things on the table, it'll flash yellow. You have 3 minutes, and it'll beep at the end, just as a warning.
All right. Well, I appreciate your diligence in selecting the next superintendent and for all of you being supportive of her. I think that was a good choice. The issues I have today are just things that I think we could clean up to help kind of give her a clean slate and an opportunity to bring as much success as possible to our students and our community. So just a couple things. Number one, on your cards, you have a response if you'd like a follow-up call. I'm still waiting for my follow-up call from the last meeting. If somebody on the board could do that. I'd like to know why you're not allowing the safety and security meeting to be broadcast to the community. I think the entire community deserves to know where we're at. And to hide that from the community and make it kind of a restricted event is just another slap in the face. We'd like to know why you're not informing the community about topics being discussed in the closed sessions, like what attorneys and cases are being discussed in those meetings. You don't have to give all the information, but you could tell us what you're doing there. And in my opinion, you're still stuck in the first phase of trauma, that is denial. You're in denial on the consequences of November 30th and the needless murders of Hannah St. Juliana, Madison Baldwin, Justin Schilling, and Tate Mir. The community is not going to let this issue go until there's full accountability for the board and staff members directly involved, and that they are removed, including Jim Rourke, Pam Fine, Steve Wolf, Heather Schaefer, and Mary Hanser. I commend you on your selection of a new superintendent, but leadership in the school flows from the board members. Everything rises and falls on leadership, and right now our school is on fire with the help of Vicki Markovich. On fire politically, financially, and literally. The next election cycle can't come soon enough. Leading the charge in failures, waste, and with blood on their hands, and the attempted cover-up, Mary Hanser and Heather Schaefer continue to mock the victims and families of this community with their presence. Please save us all the time and energy by leaving now. The events leading up to November 30th and following through today have been unacceptable at every level. However slow this process may be, we will continue cleaning house here at the school until all individuals associated with the failures have left the room, just like the last 5 board members, Tim Throne, counselors, and the others involved.
Marissa Prince.
Good evening. I don't have anything prepared, but I just wanted to thank all of you. I am so incredibly optimistic and excited about the future of our school district. So I feel like Dr. Milligan, well, I'm sure she's watching, given what we know about her, is so pumped and so excited to come here and hit the ground running for the benefit of our students and our staff and our families. But I also truly feel she's going to be the best leader for the families of our victims. And that's just a sense I have from her presentation and the way she speaks. I'm hoping she's able to help them with what they need that they still haven't gotten. So the fact that she is a transformational leader and walks in value and purpose is going to go a long way. And we have so much to be proud of here to share with her. And I'm sure we're all excited for her to start. Maybe she can start even sooner. I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Gibbons.
Unlike normal, I will be brief tonight. I just want to, on behalf of the OEA, but I think probably the cabinet members and administrators that were included in the site visits, thank the board for including staff in the visits and including our input into what I know firsthand was an extremely difficult decision. I think the site visits were a very important, critical component to the final selection of our superintendent, and we had 2 excellent candidates, and I think that that is in part due to the input we sought on the front end to develop the leadership profile from our community and all of our stakeholders. And so I want to share my appreciation to the board as a community member, as a teacher, as a parent, that I appreciate the diligence that you put into the process and the care. I know from talking to all 7 of you, the care and concern that you put our students and our staff and our community into your mind as you made this difficult decision. So thank you on behalf of the folks that were included and had their input considered. So, and welcome to Dr. Milligan.
Great. All right, item 6 on the agenda, you can see our scheduled activities. Any final board comments? James?
This has been a big learning process. I think it goes without saying, I look forward to never having to do this again. At least for the foreseeable future. But I'd also like to, I know the work that we did, but to everybody that's shown up to the meetings, that's come to the listening sessions, that has put their input in to let us know that leadership profile and everything, I mean, hopefully everybody feels that it was collaborative as much as I could see on our side and things. So I appreciate everybody. Usually I don't like to, do all the accolades at the end, like to get done, but, this process, it was a lot of work and stuff. So thank you for everybody that gave input.
All right. Heather?
And just again, a thank you. I think as a board, we would like to wish Cormac the very best in his endeavors and his continued education pursuits. Whatever he decides to pursue, we wish him the very best. He's extremely qualified, professional, and we just wish him the very best and thank him.
Yeah. All right.
I'll add in a little last piece. best wishes to Team 2137, who are on their way to Houston as we speak. The robot may have already arrived. So they are on their way to Worlds in Houston. So thank you. I hope Dr. Milligan likes robotics.
All right. 6:55, meeting adjourned.